Alright everyone, it's JD Asajan with another episode of Fortune Builders TV, and we've got a first today actually. Sean, who is working with Dave in the video department, is actually recording his first Fortune Builders TV show behind the camera, so welcome Sean to the team. Dave's actually still in the room, sitting very awkwardly to the side over here, taking notes on his Apple computer apparently, or doing work, or I'm not sure exactly what Dave's doing, but he actually is in the room with us today, and actually in the front of the camera as always. And what I'm going to talk about today is one of the questions I get asked, probably more so than anything else on the rehab side of the business, is how do you lay out a house? You know, how do you decide how to lay out a house? You know, when you're doing major changes to the layout, Paul and I call it spatial optimization, really maximizing every square foot of the house. How do you do that if you're not good at it, or even if you are good at design, what's the best way to approach it? And I'm going to talk about that because actually right now, as we were getting ready to film the show, I was in the process of designing and laying out what will ultimately be the highest price point home that we have sold to date, single family home in San Diego County. And it's going to be an unbelievable renovation. I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again before we're done renovating homes, but this will be the best renovation that we've done. And every time I've said it, it's been the case, but this one will be our best renovation to date when we're complete with it. And we bought it yesterday. We closed on it yesterday here in San Diego County in an area of town called Point Loma, which is awesome. Views of downtown, views of Coronado Bridge, views of the water. And we purchased the home for $870,000. Okay, we're gonna put, we haven't finalized the budget 100%, but we're gonna put over $200,000 in renovations in this home, and our price point based off of the comps is about $1.4 million. And potentially, depending on what the market does, because the market has been going up. In most areas across the country, the market's rising in terms of property values, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing if you're investing right now, and that could increase up more than 1.4 depending on what the market does. I'm not banking on that to have it be a deal, but nevertheless it could happen. But the issue isn't necessarily the numbers for this week's show. The issue is how are we laying out this house, and what I'm telling you is going to be our best renovation to date, as it will, and you're going to get to see pictures when we're done. So I'm going to talk about that because I was doing it right now before we started the show. There's no substitution for using leverage, as we do in all areas of our business. Whether you're a great designer or whether you think you're a great designer or not, having another set of eyes, someone who does design for a living or does design for other people, can bring input into your situation. And certainly if you don't know anything about design, you should absolutely do that. But regardless, I've designed hundreds of homes now, but I still use a professional, and that professional can be a number of different people. It can be an interior designer is a great resource, a planner, an engineer. These type of individuals can help bring input. I did a show a couple of weeks ago about resources you can use to get better at design, and I'm looking at one right now. It happened to be San Diego Home and Garden magazine, which is obviously local to San Diego, but your area will have a magazine like that, or those national magazines for design. Great resource, and one that I really like is called Dwell. It's a magazine. You can subscribe to it online. It's actually referred to me by my interior designer who is helping us on this project. It's called Dwell, D-W-E-L-L. It's a great magazine, has a lot of cool ideas. So the process goes like this. When we buy a new home that we're going to do major changes to the layout, I always want to get an existing layout of the home. And that's actually what I have right here. So we send in our planner. Typically that planner is going to do also the plans for us and submit them to the city, because we leverage that out as well. Your best time is not going down to the building department trying to figure out what line to get in and sitting down there for hours and then arguing with someone down there because you want to do something to the house that you didn't have the right preparation or paperwork for. So you're going to pay for that service. You should pay for that service. So I always have that person, our planner, go in and give us an existing layout, and they do this on CAD software. Do not go and try to be an expert in CAD software. It's not the best use of your time. You could find 2-3 more properties that make you $30,000 each on the time that it would take you to learn CAD. So but that's what they use. And so they and what I want to see is the existing layout, and I want to see the measurements of every area of the house. Because the best way to get layouts changed to optimize the space is a top-down view. Yes, you need to be in the space, and yes, you need to feel what the house feels like when you go in there, but the best way is to look at the top-down view and get it on paper. So that's what I have here in existing. And then what I do from that point is I'll make changes to the existing based on what I'd initially like to see. And I happen to have it right here. It's actually, I take whiteout and I start to white out lines, and believe me, I'm no artist, but I white out lines and I actually put together changes in the layout based off of what I'd like to see, and I get ideas from magazines. I get ideas from other houses in the area, which many times are the comparables that we use to determine the ARV and what other people have done to the house. And I start to adjust the layout as much as I can or as much as I want to in the direction that I want to head. And then I'll send that back to our planner, or in this case our designer, who's helping us, and her name's Kelly, and she's been a friend of mine since 4th grade actually. She just happens to live in San Diego County and happens to also be a very excellent interior designer. So that's someone that you need to have on your team and should have on your team. And so Kelly and I were just on the phone, and what Kelly does is she takes that, or what Kelly does for us, or what your designer will do for you, is take your sort of initial ideas, or maybe you don't have any ideas because you've never laid out a house before, so they'll give you all those ideas and you'll start to learn. But in this case, I send back, we update the layout based off of what I'd initially like to see. And on this house, we're actually creating a new hallway because there was a 4th bedroom that you had to walk through to get to the master. So we moved the hallway over. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys look at this. So below the show, I hadn't planned on doing this, but we'll just do it because I'm showing you, talking about things that you can learn from. So I'm going to have this be actually a handout for you below the show. So if you go down below the show, you're going to get this one of these layouts as a handout so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So I adjusted the layout a little bit. I started to talk about what kind of appliances do I want in there. Am I using a 30-inch traditional range? Am I using a 36-inch range, a 48-inch range? And I already had an idea of what I wanted to use, again, from looking at magazines. So I started to make those changes. Kelly put some tweaks to it, and she actually sent back a revised version as well with some more radical changes that I hadn't even thought of. And I'm looking at that right now, and what I did with that is I made some red marks on it. And those red marks were things that I kind of liked and didn't like, and things that I wanted to see changed. Now, she radically changed the design that I initially had, and that's what a good designer will do, is bring ideas to the table. Now, what I'm looking at when she changes this is how's that going to affect the cost? Because what I had originally had in my layout was all the plumbing areas, the kitchens and the bathrooms kind of put in one spot because it's going to make it more economical to do the renovation there. Now, she changed the layout in the kitchen layout pretty radically, which is ultimately going to would be a great layout for this home. So now we're kind of in this phase where she has ideas, I brought ideas, and now we're going to start to look at what the cost would be to do those changes and decide if it's in the budget, because you can overfix a house and you only have so much money to renovate the home based off of what you estimated when you bought the house, and we have a budget for this house. But if I can make these changes for a few dollars more, and it's going to ultimately create a better experience and maybe even sell the house for more because someone falls in love with it, well, that can be a good trade-off of money. So that's some initial things that I do. Also, very easily as I go online and I Google pictures of houses that the style that I want to go for. Now, this house, what we're going for is a more of a mid-century, a modern mid-century renovation. And if you don't know what mid-century type homes are, you can Google that and you'll see thousands of examples. But I want to see a modern mid-century renovation in this home. So I actually Googled that and I pulled up some pictures of what I envision the outside of the house looking like. Now, we're going to use and pick materials that fit within our budget, and we can play around with this general look to get the feeling of that mid-century modern. But these are all tools that we use and you should be using when you're laying out a house. CAD software that your designer will use. Getting a top-down view of the house. And then starting to make changes. And sometimes this will go on a house where the layout changes are pretty basic. This is a one-shot deal. You make a couple changes, boom, you're off and running. In a house where there's a lot of options and we're selling it at a high price point, there are a lot of different changes that may go on, and that we'll go back and forth a couple of times. When I say we, I mean me, my designer, Kelly in this case, and so that's something that you'll probably experience as well. So that's some initial teaching points on how to get a layout done in a house and how you can get better, because if you've never done a layout before, you can't expect yourself to be great at it. That's not a fair thing to do. But by using a professional and learning and asking questions, you will get better. So that's the goal, is that, you know, whether you think you're good at it now or you're not good at it now, we can always get better. And I learn something every time we lay out a house. Every time I think about something different. So never stop learning, and use professionals, leverage find a good designer or a planner that can help you with this process, and don't need to do it on your own. So hope that was helpful. It's a very important part of the process when you're renovating a home, and I wanted to share some of those things that we do and some of those things that we teach when Paul and I are teaching the rehab bootcamp, for example. All right, so next section is the deal or no deal.
Deal or no deal?
So deal or no deal? Well, I'm going to ask a pretty basic question here. Using layouts, professionally done layouts, or not? Right? You can do a nice CAD layout with measurements and actually put in staging elements and actually get exact details of the area of the house, or you could go in there with a graph, with a piece of paper, graph paper, and a number 2 lead pencil and go crazy with your tape measure. Well, deal or no deal? The deal is using a professional, leveraging, paying them by the hour to go in and do this work for you while you sit in the office and analyze more deals. Okay? So lastly, and certainly not least, is our quote of the week.
Quote of the week.
Every child is an artist. The challenge is how to remain an artist once he grows up. By Pablo Picasso. Pretty good quote, fitting to what we were talking about. When I think about that quote, what I think about is that, you know, some of the youthful excitement that we have around things, or the kind of carefree attitude that many times we carry when we're younger, when we're kids, sometimes that can get sort of beat down or worn out of us as we grow older. Life kind of takes charge sometimes, and we forget some of the things, some of the simple things in life. That's what I think when I read that, when I listen to that quote. And you know, and I'm reminded of that when we renovate a home. It's like we've renovated many homes. Like I sit here right now, and we've renovated hundreds of homes over the course of the last decade. But what never changes is what the excitement I get when we finish a house, and the look on the buyer's face when they move in, or when they get the keys, or when they get their offer accepted. You know, their dream of home ownership. That never changes. Seeing that before and after, you know, seeing what the house was and seeing what it becomes. That never changes, so never lose sight of that. Yeah, we make money in real estate, and there are times where we lose money in real estate sometimes. But when we're talking about design and we're talking about layouts, you know, it's a fun part of the process. So never lose that, you know, never forget and lose that fun element. There should be something fun in everything that we do, and sometimes we do things for far too long that aren't ever fun. All right, so hope you enjoyed the show this week. Below the show, download the layout that I'm working on right now. See what you think. Share with me and the viewers below this show by commenting other things that you maybe have done to help you get a better layout of your property. And comment, share, enjoy the show, and we'll see you next week.